The blue planet spun slowly in the darkness of space. On the monitoring station far above, Veltar watched the strange signals coming from its surface. The Zentorian scientist had never seen anything like them before. The patterns were complex, but chaotic. Nothing like the peaceful transmissions from other civilized worlds. "These beings are trying to communicate," Veltar reported to the Galactic Council. "But their signals are intense." Ambassador Thexim studied the data with his large, gentle eyes. The Kethmore diplomat had overseen first contact with 6 species over his long career. Each time it had been a joyful celebration of new friendship and shared knowledge. He expected this to be the same. "Prepare the welcome delegation," Thexim decided. "We will greet these humans with the same warmth we show all new friends." The council agreed quickly. For 10,000 years, they had lived in perfect harmony. 7 species working together, sharing art and philosophy, solving problems, through discussion and patience. War was something from the ancient past, a dark time they barely remembered. When the alien ships appeared in Earth's sky, Captain Jiho was the first human they met. He stood on the landing platform at the Seoul Defense Base, watching the graceful vessels descend. His hand rested near his weapon, not threatening, just ready. It was a habit he had learned in 20 years of military service. The aliens emerged from their ship like flowing water. They moved with incredible grace, their movements smooth and peaceful. Thexim stepped forward first, his translator device humming softly. "Greetings, beings of Earth," the ambassador said. "We come in peace and friendship. We are representatives of the Galactic Council, and we welcome you to the community of civilized species." Jiho studied the aliens carefully. He noticed how they moved, where their eyes looked, how they held themselves. These beings had never been in a fight in their lives. He could tell just by watching them. "Welcome to Earth," Jiho replied, his voice calm and professional. "I am Captain Jiho of the Earth Defense Force. We appreciate your peaceful intentions." Dr. Sumi arrived soon after. She was Earth's best scientist, chosen to lead the first contact team. Her excitement was obvious, as she shook hands with each alien visitor. But even she moved with the careful awareness that all humans learned from childhood. "This is incredible," Sumi told Veltar as they toured the research facility. "Your technology is amazing. How did your people develop such advanced ships?" "We work together," Veltar explained. "When different species share knowledge, great things become possible. Our ancestors learned that cooperation always works better than conflict." Sumi nodded, but something in her expression made Veltar uncomfortable. It was like she was thinking about more than just cooperation. She was analyzing, calculating, planning. It reminded him of the hunting animals from his homeworld, but those creatures were not intelligent. Admiral Wanho joined them for the formal meetings. The older human carried himself with quiet authority that made even the peaceful aliens step back slightly. When he spoke, everyone listened carefully. "We're honored by your visit," Wanho said during the welcome ceremony. "Earth has always looked to the stars and wondered who else might be out there. Now we know we're not alone." "Your species seems very curious," Thexim observed. "Curiosity is a wonderful trait. It leads to learning and growth. It also leads to preparation," Wanho replied quietly. "When you don't know what's out there, you learn to be ready for anything." The aliens exchanged glances. What did he mean by preparation? Over the next few days, the human hosts showed their guests around Earth. They visited museums, universities, and cultural centers. The aliens were delighted by human art and music. They marveled at the creativity and passion in every human creation. But small things began to worry them. In every building they visited, humans automatically noted the exits. Security guards watched crowds with sharp, alert eyes. Even children playing in parks moved with a kind of controlled energy that seemed strange. "Your people seem very aware," Veltar commented to Sumi as they walked through a busy market. "Aware of what?" Sumi asked. "Everything. You all watch each other, watch your surroundings. You move like you're expecting something to happen," Sumi looked puzzled. Doesn't everyone do that? It's just normal to pay attention to what's around you. That night, the alien delegation met privately on their ship. Thexim was troubled by something he couldn't quite identify. These humans are friendly enough, he said, but they feel different from other species we've met. Different how? Asked Crixnell, the Plix observer. They're too alert, Veltar said slowly. Even when they're relaxed, they're not really relaxed. It's like they're always ready for something. Ready for what? Thexim wondered. They decided to extend their visit. There was something about humans that needed more study before they could be fully welcomed into the galactic community. During their second week on Earth, the aliens attended a football match with their human hosts. The game confused them completely. Why did humans run into each other so hard? Why did the crowd cheer when someone was knocked down? Most puzzling of all, why did everyone seem to enjoy it? It's just a game, Jiho explained, laughing at their worried faces. It's fun to compete, to test yourself against others. But someone could be hurt, Veltar protested. Sometimes people do get hurt, Sumi agreed. That's part of what makes it exciting. The risk makes victory more meaningful. The aliens looked at each other in alarm. These peaceful, friendly humans thought risk and potential injury made activities more fun. After the game, they visited a military museum with Admiral Wanho. The displays showed thousands of years of human warfare, from ancient swords to modern weapons. Wanho explained each exhibit with obvious knowledge and what seemed like pride. Your species has fought many wars, Thexim observed carefully. Yes, we have, Wanho confirmed. War is terrible, but it's also taught us important lessons. How to work together under pressure, how to innovate when we have to, how to protect what matters to us. But surely peace is better than war. Veltar asked. Of course it is, Wanho replied. But peace only lasts when good people are ready to fight for it. That evening, as the aliens prepared their reports for the council, they struggled to find the right words. The humans were clearly intelligent and civilized. They had art, science, philosophy, and kindness. But underneath all of that was something else. Something that made the peaceful aliens nervous. They're not like us, Thexim finally concluded. I think we need to learn much more about these humans before we decide what comes next. On Earth below, Captain Jiho filed his own report to military command. The aliens seemed peaceful enough, but their technology was impressive. Earth needed to understand these new visitors and their capabilities, just in case. Neither side realized yet how different they really were. The Galactic Council faced the greatest crisis in their 10,000-year history. Deep in the secure chambers of their central station, representatives from 7 peaceful species struggled with an impossible decision. The evidence about humanity lay before them like a death sentence for their way of life. We cannot uninvent first contact, Thexim said quietly, his gentle voice heavy with despair. The humans know about us. They know about the galaxy. They know we exist. Around the chamber, the other representatives floated in their specialized environments, each lost in thought. The peaceful Zentorians wrapped their delicate limbs around themselves for comfort. The collective consciousness of the Veldana rippled, with distress. Even ancient Zurmuth of the Zulfi seemed smaller than usual, his countless years of wisdom offering no solution to this unprecedented threat. Crixnell of the Plix activated the holographic display, showing the latest intelligence, reports from Earth. The images were more disturbing than any nightmare their peaceful minds could have imagined. Human adaptation rate continues to accelerate, Crixnell reported. They have reverse-engineered our basic propulsion systems in less than 4 months. At this rate, they will have interstellar travel capability within 2 years. The display showed human engineers working with captured alien technology, but calling it captured was misleading. The humans had simply observed alien systems during cultural exchange and deduced their operating principles with terrifying speed. They didn't steal our technology. Veltar's voice came through the communication link from the orbital station. They understood it just by watching us use it. Siak, the human military analyst, appeared on screen in archived surveillance footage. He had compiled detailed threat assessments of every council species, including their military capabilities, technological weaknesses, and strategic vulnerabilities. This human has identified 12 ways to disable our ships, Nixara whispered, in horror. He's never seen our technology directly, but he found weaknesses we didn't know existed. The Council's top strategists had reviewed Siok's analysis. Every conclusion was correct. Every weakness he had identified was real. In 4 months, this single human had accomplished more strategic planning than the Council's military advisors had done in centuries. But we have no military advisors, HFY realized with growing alarm. We never needed them. That was the heart of their dilemma. The Council had enjoyed 10,000 years of peace because they had never encountered a species capable of warfare. Their technology was advanced but undefended. Their planets were beautiful but unprotected. Their people were wise but helpless. Thexim activated another section of the display, showing human diplomatic activities. Rami, the human negotiator, had established contact protocols with each council species. But the aliens now realized these weren't diplomatic overtures. They were intelligence-gathering operations. Every conversation was a probe for information, Thexim explained. They learned our languages, our customs, our psychology, and our capabilities, all while appearing to be friendly cultural exchange. The humans had been conducting reconnaissance, missions disguised as friendship. They mapped alien technology, studied alien behavior, and identified alien decision-making processes with systematic thoroughness. They know more about us than we know about ourselves, Crixnell observed with bitter irony. Admiral Wanho appeared in the next set of recordings, briefing human military commanders on interstellar defense preparations. The aliens watched in fascinated horror as humans planned for scenarios that peaceful minds couldn't imagine. Assumption 1, Wanho had told his staff. Peaceful first contact does not guarantee peaceful future relations. We prepare for all possibilities. The human military was already designing weapon systems for space-based warfare. They were establishing supply chains for interplanetary logistics. They were training personnel for zero-gravity combat operations. They planned for war while hoping for peace, Zermoth observed. We hope for peace while planning for nothing. The strategic imbalance was overwhelming. If conflict ever arose between humans and the Council, the outcome was predetermined. The peaceful species had no experience with warfare, no weapon systems, and no strategic doctrine for conflict resolution through force. We have 3 options, Thexim said finally, activating the final section of the display. None of them are acceptable. Option 1, quarantine humanity. Prevent them from leaving their solar system and accessing the galaxy. The Council could establish a perimeter around human space and contain them indefinitely. Impossible, Veltar reported from the station. They're already reverse engineering our FTL technology. Within months, they'll have ships faster than ours. We cannot contain a species that learns faster than we can adapt. Option 2, civilize humanity. Send teachers, philosophers, and artists to Earth. Show them the beauty of peaceful coexistence. Convert them from warriors to peaceful beings through education and cultural exchange. Too dangerous, Nixara protested. Exposure to human thinking has already affected our observation teams. Veltar uses military terminology now. He thinks about contingency planning and threat assessment. We fear corruption of our own peaceful nature. The surveillance report supported her concerns. Aliens who spent time with humans began adopting human thought patterns. They started planning for problems that might never occur. They developed situational awareness that bordered on paranoia. They became more like humans and less like their own species. Option 3, preemptive strike. Destroy humanity before they could spread to the galaxy. Use overwhelming technological advantage to eliminate the threat while it was still contained to one system. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. For 10,000 years, no council species had committed violence against another intelligent being. The concept was so alien to their nature that they barely had words for it. We cannot become murderers, HFY Prime declared, the collective. consciousness recoiling from the very idea. We would cease to be who we are. But if we do nothing, Zormoth pointed out quietly, we may cease to be at all. The ancient being had lived through the rise and fall of civilizations across the galaxy. His species' racial memory contained echoes of the warrior races that had once dominated the stars before peaceful species learned to hide from them. I have seen the patterns before, Zormoth continued. Warriors expand. They explore. They compete. They eventually dominate. It is their nature. But humans seem different, protested Crixnull. They show genuine affection for our representatives. Dr. Sumi considers Veltar a close friend. Captain Jiho treats Thexim with obvious respect. That makes them more dangerous, not less, Zormoth replied sadly. Cruel conquerors can be negotiated with or avoided. Friendly conquerors are impossible to resist because they conquer without malice. The display showed more recent footage from the orbital station. Sumi and Veltar working together on joint research projects. Their collaboration was genuine and productive. The human clearly cared about her alien colleagues' well-being, but even acts of friendship revealed the gap between species. When Sumi designed safety protocols for alien visitors, her procedures were comprehensive beyond anything the peaceful species had imagined. She planned for emergencies that would never occur to alien minds. She protects us from dangers we cannot even perceive, Veltar reported. Her care for my safety is more thorough than our own species' survival instincts. That was perhaps the most disturbing aspect of human nature. Their capacity for destruction was matched by their capacity for protection. They were equally capable of annihilating enemies and defending friends. They will make excellent allies or terrible enemies, Thexim concluded, but we cannot control which they become. The council debated through multiple cycles, their peaceful minds struggling with concepts that had no place in their worldview. How do you negotiate with a species that assumes conflict is inevitable? How do you trust beings who prepare for betrayal while offering friendship? What does humanity want? Nixara asked finally. It was the question they should have asked first, but their peaceful natures had assumed all intelligent species wanted the same things: knowledge, beauty, harmony, and growth. Thexim reviewed the human statements from first contact. They want to explore the galaxy, they want to meet other species, they want to learn and share knowledge. All reasonable goals, Veldana Prime observed. Yes, but they also want security, Thexim continued. They want guarantees that their families will be safe. They want assurance that their planet will be protected. They want the capability to defend themselves against any possible threat. The implications were staggering. Human definition of security required preparation for warfare against anyone who might threaten them. Their idea of safety meant maintaining superiority over potential enemies. They want peace, Zormoth realized, but only the peace that comes from strength. Can we give them what they want? Asked Crixnull. The question hung in the chamber like a death knell for their civilization. Could 7 peaceful species coexist with one warrior race? Could 10,000 years of harmony survive? The introduction of beings who viewed conflict as natural and inevitable. The aliens had seen enough of human military forces. Now they needed to understand human civilians. Surely ordinary humans would be different from their soldiers. The Council authorized covert surveillance of human society to learn the truth about daily life on Earth. What they discovered was worse than their fears. Inho worked as a police detective in Seoul. The aliens watched him through hidden cameras, expecting to see peaceful law enforcement. Instead, they witnessed something that chilled their peaceful hearts. Every routine traffic stop was treated as a potential combat situation. Inho approached each vehicle with careful positioning that allowed quick movement in any direction. His hand stayed near his weapon. His eyes constantly scanned for threats that probably didn't exist. Routine police work? Veltar whispered to his recording device. This human treats every interaction like a potential battle. When Inho investigated a simple burglary, he moved through the crime scene like a soldier clearing enemy territory. He checked corners, noted escape routes, and positioned himself to avoid potential ambushes. The aliens realized that human law Enforcement was actually low-level warfare against their own species. Most disturbing was how natural it looked. Inho wasn't afraid or aggressive. This was simply how humans maintained order in their society. The surveillance team moved to observe. Yuna, a human surgeon at Seoul National Hospital. Surely medical professionals would show humanity's peaceful side. They were wrong again. Yuna worked on a patient who had been injured in a vehicle accident. The aliens watched her operate with precision that amazed and terrified them. She made rapid decisions under extreme pressure, coordinated with her team using brief, efficient communications, and never showed any sign of stress, even when the patient's life hung in balance. She functions perfectly in crisis situations. The surveillance report noted. Her performance actually improves when stakes are highest. During the surgery, Yuna's movements were economical and decisive. She cut, stitched, and repaired human tissue with the same focused intensity that human soldiers showed in combat training. The operating room was organized like a military command center, with everyone knowing their exact role and responsibilities. Even, their healing is warfare, Thexim observed when he reviewed the footage. They fight disease and injury like enemies to be destroyed. The aliens noticed that human hospitals were designed like fortified positions, multiple backup systems for every critical function, security protocols that could lock down entire sections, emergency procedures for disasters that other species couldn't imagine. They prepare for attacks on their medical facilities, Veltar realized with growing horror. They assume someone might try to destroy their hospitals. The surveillance expanded to study June, a human firefighter. The aliens expected this to show human cooperation and rescue instincts. Instead, they witnessed organized assault operations against natural disasters. When June's team responded to a building fire, they attacked the emergency like a military unit storming an enemy position. They coordinated multiple approaches, established command structures, and executed complex tactical maneuvers to defeat the fire. "We're going in," June announced to his team. "Standard search and rescue pattern. Stay in contact, watch for flashover conditions, and nobody goes in alone." The aliens watched in amazement as humans ran into a burning building to rescue people they didn't even know. But what struck them most was how military the entire operation looked. Humans fought fires the same way they fought wars, with overwhelming force, careful coordination, and acceptance of personal risk. They treat every emergency like a battle, the observers reported. Natural disasters are enemies to be defeated. Even more shocking was how ordinary humans reacted to the emergency. Civilians evacuated in organized patterns, following directions from authority figures without question. They formed supply lines to support the firefighters, established communication networks to coordinate rescue efforts, and automatically assumed roles in the emergency response. Their entire population can transform into a support network for crisis response, Veltar noted in his report. Every civilian knows their role in emergency situations. The aliens decided to observe human education, hoping to find evidence of peaceful indoctrination. They studied Yuna, a teacher at a primary school in Busan. Even human children's education horrified the peaceful aliens. Yuna's classroom was organized with clear hierarchies and command structures. She maintained discipline through systems that looked like military protocols to alien eyes. The children responded to signals, followed procedures, and moved in coordinated groups. During a fire drill, the young humans evacuated the building, with precision that would impress alien military commanders. Each child knew exactly where to go and what to do. They moved quickly, but calmly, following emergency procedures they had practiced repeatedly. 6-year-old humans perform better in crisis drills than our trained emergency personnel, the surveillance team reported. Even human play was disturbing to watch. Children naturally formed competitive teams, created complex rules for their games, and engaged in activities that simulated hunting, fighting, or territorial control. They called it fun. Their recreational activities are training exercises, Veltar observed. They prepare for competition and conflict from the earliest age. The aliens discovered that human schools taught subjects called physical education that were actually combat training in disguise. Children learned to throw objects accurately, move their bodies efficiently, and work in coordinated teams under pressure. They train their young for warfare and call it education, Thexim muttered as he reviewed the footage. The surveillance reports painted a clear picture. Human civilization was an elaborate system for organizing warfare. Their laws were rules of engagement. Their government was a command structure. Their economy was resource allocation for competitive advantage. Even human entertainment reinforced these patterns. Movies showed heroes defeating villains through superior tactics and determination. Sports were ritualized combat where teams battled for dominance. Games taught strategic thinking and competitive advantage. They have created a society that appears peaceful but is actually optimized for conflict, the Council's analysis concluded. Gersey, most chilling discovery came when they studied human relationships. Even human families operated like military units with clear hierarchies, defined roles, and mutual defense obligations. Human parents trained their children for survival in a dangerous world. They taught them to be strong, competitive, and self-reliant. Human children were expected to fight their own battles and protect weaker members of their group. Their concept of love includes preparation for warfare, Veltar reported. Parents show affection by teaching survival skills. Human romantic relationships involved competition for mates, territorial behavior, and complex alliance systems. Even their mating rituals looked like diplomatic negotiations between potential allies. They compete for everything, the aliens realized. Jobs, mates, resources, status, territory. Competition is how they organize their entire society. The surveillance expanded to study human responses to their recent contact with aliens. The results were terrifying. Siak, a human military analyst, had already begun detailed threat assessments of every alien species in the Council. He studied their ship designs, their technology, their biology, and their behavioral patterns with the focused intensity of a predator studying prey. Standard operational procedure, Siak explained to his colleagues. We need to understand capabilities and intentions of all potential hostiles. But they seem friendly, one of his assistants pointed out. Today they're friendly, Siak replied. Tomorrow is a different question. We prepare for tomorrow. Rami, a human diplomat, conducted negotiations with alien representatives using techniques that made the peaceful aliens deeply uncomfortable. Every conversation was a careful dance of implied threats and promised benefits. Every agreement contained contingency clauses for various scenarios. Human diplomacy is warfare by other means, the surveillance team reported. They negotiate like they're planning for eventual conflict. Most disturbing of all, Admiral Wanho had already begun preparing for interstellar defense capabilities. Human engineers were reverse engineering alien technology at impossible speeds. Human strategists were developing tactics for space-based warfare that aliens had never even considered. They learn faster than any species we have encountered, Veltar reported to the Council. Their adaptation rate is exponential. The aliens realized that first contact had not been the beginning of friendship between species. It had been the start of a new arms race. Humans were already preparing for the possibility that their alien visitors might not always be peaceful. Then, assume conflict is inevitable, Thexim concluded. They prepare for war while hoping for peace. The surveillance reports revealed the terrifying truth about human nature. Humans weren't evil or malicious. They were simply optimized for survival in a hostile universe through superior preparation, adaptation, and willingness to use force when necessary. They are what we would become, Zermoth observed quietly, if we had spent 10,000 years fighting instead of cooperating. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in the deepest chambers of the central station. Representatives from all 7 species floated around the holographic display, their peaceful faces marked with worry. Ambassador Thexim had returned from Earth with disturbing news. Fellow beings, Thexim began, his voice heavy with concern. We face an unprecedented situation. The humans are not like any species we have ever encountered. The council chamber fell silent. Crixnell of the Plix shifted nervously. Nixara of the short team wrapped her delicate arms around herself for comfort. Even ancient Zurmoth of the Zulfi looked troubled. and his species had lived for millions of years. "Please explain," requested SciFiPrime, the collective consciousness that represented their species. Thexim activated the holographic display. Images of Earth appeared, showing human cities, human faces, human activities. Everything looked normal and peaceful to untrained eyes. "The humans appear civilized," Thexim continued. "They have art, science, philosophy, and kindness. But underneath this civilization lies something we have never encountered before." He showed them the evidence Veltar had collected. Human entertainment filled with violence and conflict. Human sports that were ritualized combat. Human history that was an endless cycle of warfare and competition. "Every aspect of human development has been shaped by conflict," Thexim explained. "But it goes deeper than that. Much deeper." The display changed to show biological data about human physiology. The council members gasped as they saw the truth. "Humans sleep only 6 to 8 hours per day," Thexim reported. "We require 12 to 16. Their bodies are designed for constant alertness." More data appeared. Human reaction times, human endurance, human healing rates. Every number was shocking. "They can run for hours without stopping," he continued. "Their ancestors hunted prey by chasing it until it collapsed from exhaustion. They call this persistence hunting." Veltar joined the session via communication link from the orbital station. His image appeared beside the data, looking exhausted and frightened. "I've been studying their stress responses," Veltar reported. "When we face danger, our bodies shut down non-essential functions. We become weak and slow. Humans do the opposite. Stress makes them faster, stronger, and more alert." The council members looked at each other in horror. A species that became more dangerous when threatened? "Show them the footage from yesterday," Thexim instructed. A new image appeared. It showed Kyung, a human soldier, performing routine training exercises. To human eyes, it was normal physical conditioning. To the peaceful aliens, it looked like preparation for mass destruction. "This is what humans call basic fitness," Veltar explained. "This soldier can carry equipment weighing half his body weight for dozens of kilometers. He can function without food for days. He can operate complex weapons while under enemy fire." Humans in the footage moved with terrifying precision. Every motion was efficient and purposeful. They trained together like a single organism, but an organism designed for warfare. "But surely this is just their military," protested Nixara. "Their civilian population must be different." Thexim shook his head sadly. He showed them footage of Hana, a human civilian who worked in what humans called accounting. She seemed harmless enough, sitting at a desk working with numbers. "Watch her daily routine," Thexim said. The footage followed Hana through her normal day. She kept emergency supplies in her car and at her workplace. She automatically checked exits when entering new buildings. She maintained physical fitness even though her job required no physical activity. She carried tools that could be used as weapons, though she called them utility items. "This is a normal human civilian," Thexim emphasized. "She has never been a soldier, yet she maintains constant readiness for danger that may never come." The display showed more examples. Daiho, a human engineer, solved problems by controlled demolition, using explosives so casually that it terrified the aliens. When faced with a blocked tunnel, his first solution was to blast through it. Their problem-solving methods all involve force, Veltar added. They see obstacles as things to be overcome, destroyed, or conquered. Zormoth, the ancient Zulfi representative, finally spoke. His species had the longest memory of any in the council. "In our oldest records," Zormoth said slowly, "there are legends of the warrior races, species that evolved through conflict instead of cooperation. We thought they were myths." "They're not myths," Thexim replied grimly. "The humans are what our ancestors feared, a species born from endless warfare." The evidence continued to mount. Human children naturally formed competitive groups. Human education included physical combat training they called sports. Human medicine was based on fighting diseases and injuries with aggressive treatments. Even their concept of love involves competition, Veltar reported. They compete for mates, fight to protect their families, and view relationships as territories to be defended. The most disturbing revelation came last. Thexim showed them human military doctrine from their recent history. The humans have weapons capable of destroying their entire planet, he announced. They built them knowing they could never be safely used. They call this strategy mutually assured destruction. The council fell into stunned silence. A species that would risk destroying their own world to prevent others from conquering it? They created weapons that could end all life on their planet. Thexim continued, and this somehow brought them peace. They are so willing to fight that their enemies became afraid to challenge them. Crixnell's translator could barely handle the concept. They achieved peace through the promise of total. Va! It appears so, Thexim confirmed. Veldana Prime's collective consciousness rippled with distress. What manner of beings think such thoughts? Warriors, Zermoth answered simply. Beings whose entire evolution was shaped by the need to survive against other warriors. The display showed one final piece of evidence. Human space programs, human exploration, human expansion into their solar system. Even their peaceful endeavors were carried out with military precision and backup plans for every conceivable disaster. They don't just explore, Veltar observed. They secure. They establish bases, supply lines, communication networks. They explore like they're advancing into enemy territory. Because to them, everything unknown is potentially hostile, Thexium realized. They've never known a truly peaceful universe. The implications hit the council like a physical blow. For 10,000 years they had enjoyed perfect peace because they had never encountered a real threat. The universe had seemed safe because they had only met other peaceful species. Now they had found the warriors. What do we do? Nixara asked, her voice barely a whisper. The question hung in the chamber like a death sentence. They had 3 choices, none of them good. They could try to quarantine humanity, preventing them from reaching the galaxy. But humans were already reverse engineering alien technology. Their adaptability was legendary among their own species. They could try to civilize humanity, teaching them peaceful ways. But the aliens feared that exposure to human thinking might corrupt their own peaceful natures, or they could authorize a preemptive strike, destroying humanity before they became a galactic threat. But such action was morally impossible for their peaceful cultures. Besides, success was far from certain. Humans were already proving they could learn and adapt faster than any known species. I have spent months among them, Veltar said quietly. They are not evil. They are kind, curious, and generous. But they are also the most dangerous species I have ever imagined. How dangerous? Asked Zormoth. Veltar was quiet for a long moment. They think about warfare the way we think about art. It comes naturally to them. They see tactical advantages in everything. They plan for contingencies we couldn't imagine. And most terrifying of all, they enjoy the challenge. The council chamber fell silent again. Outside, the peaceful galaxy continued its ancient dance, unaware that everything was about to change. The humans know about us now, Thexium said finally. First contact protocols have been established. We cannot undo what has been done. Then we must decide, Veldana Prime concluded. Do we flee from them, fight them, or try to understand them? As the council debated the fate of 2 civilizations, none of them realized that humans had already made their own decision. Admiral, Wanho's report was already on its way to Earth's military command, recommending immediate preparation for interstellar defense capabilities. The age of galactic peace was ending, whether anyone wanted it to or not. 3 months had passed since first contact, and the Joint Research Station orbited Earth like a bridge between 2 worlds. Dr. Sumi floated through the zero-gravity laboratory, showing Veltar how human computers worked. The Zentorian scientist was fascinated by human technology, but something else caught his attention. What are those files? Veltar asked, pointing to a section of Sumi's computer labeled Entertainment Archives. Oh, just some movies and games, Sumi replied casually. Want to see some human storytelling? Veltar nodded eagerly. Art and stories were how civilized species shared their deepest values. This would help him understand human culture better. The first movie was about an ancient battle called Thermopylae. Veltar watched in growing horror as 300 human warriors fought against thousands of enemies. The violence was graphic and detailed. Worse, the humans in the story seemed to enjoy the fighting. "This is your entertainment?" Veltar asked weakly. "It's based on real history," Sumi explained. "These soldiers died defending their homeland. It's considered one of the greatest stories of courage ever told." Veltar's translator struggled with the concept of glory and death. His species had no word for it. That afternoon, Minho joined them in the station. The military historian had brought thousands of files about human conflicts throughout history. He was excited to share human achievements with their new alien friends. "War has shaped everything about human development," Minho explained enthusiastically. "Our technology, our governments, our philosophy, even our art comes from our experiences with conflict." He showed them timeline after timeline. Humans had been fighting continuously for thousands of years. There were brief periods of peace, but they never lasted long. Most terrifying to the aliens, humans seemed to learn something new from each war, making them more effective fighters. "But surely your species desires peace?" Thexim asked during a video call from the station. "Of course we do," Minho replied. "But we've learned that peace has to be protected. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance." The aliens didn't understand why freedom needed protecting or what vigilance meant in human terms. Later that week, Nari arrived to demonstrate human recreational activities. The young woman was a champion at something called esports, competitive video gaming. The aliens thought this would be peaceful and artistic like their own games. They were wrong. Nari's game involved commanding armies in complex battles across multiple fronts. She managed hundreds of units simultaneously, making split-second decisions about attack patterns, resource allocation, and tactical retreats. Her fingers moved faster than alien eyes could follow as she executed strategies that would challenge their best military computers. "This is just for fun?" Veltar asked in amazement. "Sure," Nari laughed. "I mean, it's serious competition, but yeah, it's entertainment. Kids start playing games like this when they're 5 or 6 years old." The aliens watched in stunned silence as this cheerful young woman destroyed her opponents with strategies that seemed impossibly complex. She chatted casually while commanding virtual armies as if warfare was as natural as breathing. "How do you think so fast?" Thexim asked. "Fast? This is pretty slow, actually. In real-time strategy games, you have to make decisions in microseconds. This turn-based stuff gives you plenty of time to plan." The ambassador's peaceful mind reeled. Humans considered this slow. The breaking point came when Lieutenant Tejo offered to show them human military training. The young officer was proud of Earth's armed forces and wanted to demonstrate human discipline and skill. "These are just basic exercises," Tejo explained, as he led them to the station's gym. "Every human soldier learns these movements. What the aliens saw next would haunt their dreams." Tejo moved through combat sequences with fluid precision. His practice was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Every movement was designed to disable or destroy an opponent as efficiently as possible. "You train to hurt others?" Veltar whispered. "We train to protect others," Tejo corrected gently. "But yes, that sometimes means stopping bad people from causing harm." The concept of stopping people through violence was completely alien to their peaceful minds. During combat simulations, Tejo showed them how humans work together in small units. The coordination was perfect. Each soldier knew exactly what their teammates would do in any situation. They moved like parts of a single organism, but an organism designed for destruction. "How long does it take to learn this?" Thexim asked. "Basic training is 6 months," Tejo replied. "But you never really stop learning. Combat is always evolving, so we have to evolve too." The aliens exchanged terrified glances. Humans studied warfare the way other species studied art or philosophy. That evening, Veltar made an emergency call to the Galactic Council. The other delegates gathered around their communication screens, sensing his distress. "These humans are not what we thought," Veltar began carefully. "Their entire culture is built around conflict." "That's impossible," protested Nixara, the short-team representative. "They seem so friendly and creative." "They are friendly and creative," Veltar agreed. "But they're friendly warriors and creative fighters. Everything they do relates back to competition or conflict in some way." He showed them recordings from the past weeks. Human children playing games that involved capturing territory and defeating opponents. Human sports where teams battled for dominance using precise strategies. Human movies where heroes solved problems through violence and audiences cheered for the destruction of enemies. "Look at their language," Veltar continued. "They use warfare terms for everything. Business is a battlefield. They fight diseases. They conquer challenges. They defeat problems. They battle through difficulties." The council members watched in growing alarm as the evidence mounted. Even human romance seemed to involve conquest and surrender. "Their scientists attack research problems," Veltar went on. "Their artists struggle with their creative vision. Their students tackle difficult subjects. Everything is a conflict to be won." "But they seem so peaceful in person," Thexim protested. "That's what terrifies me," Veltar replied. "This is them being peaceful. They're being incredibly gentle and patient with us. But underneath, they're always thinking, always planning, always ready." He showed them a recording of Sumi explaining. Human medicine. Even healing, she had explained, was about fighting infection and battling disease. Human doctors were warriors against illness and injury. "What do we do?" asked Crixnall. The question hung in space between them. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Galactic Council had encountered something they didn't understand. Something that might be dangerous even if it was friendly. "We need to learn more," Thexim decided finally. But carefully. Very carefully. On the station, Sumi was showing Veltar pictures of her family on Earth. Her parents were teachers, her brother was an engineer, her sister was a doctor. All peaceful professions. But Veltar noticed something now that he hadn't seen before. In every family photo, the humans stood in positions that allowed them to see their surroundings clearly. Even in their most relaxed moments, they maintained situational awareness. Even love, it seemed, came with the instinct to protect. "Veltar," Sumi asked, noticing his strange expression. "Is something wrong?" "Nothing's wrong," he replied, but his voice was uncertain. Everything was wrong, he thought. These humans were the most dangerous species he had ever encountered, and they didn't even realize it. Worse yet, he was starting to like them. 1 year had passed since first contact, and the galaxy was no longer the same peaceful place it had been for 10,000 years. The transformation had been gradual but irreversible, like watching a calm ocean slowly change into something more dynamic and unpredictable. Dr. Sumi floated through the expanded orbital station, now 10 times larger than its original size. Human engineering had integrated seamlessly with alien technology, creating something neither species could have built alone. The station hummed with activity, as beings from multiple worlds worked together on projects that would have been impossible just months before. "The gravitational shielding is stable," Sumi reported to her mixed team of human and alien engineers. "We can begin testing the new FTL configuration." Veltar, now serving as the station's chief alien liaison, marveled at how naturally humans and aliens work together. The initial fear and misunderstanding had given way to something unprecedented in galactic history: cooperation between warriors and pacifists. "Your species continues to amaze us," Veltar told Sumi during their daily briefing. 6 months ago, you had never seen FTL technology. Now you're improving our designs." Sumi smiled, but Veltar had learned to read the deeper meaning in human expressions. The smile was genuine, but her eyes maintained the constant alertness that all humans shared. "We learn fast when we have to," she replied, "and we always assume we have to." That philosophy had become the foundation of the new galactic order. The Galactic Council had finally chosen Veltar's fourth option: understanding, They couldn't change humanity, couldn't contain them, and couldn't destroy them, so they chose to learn from them. The decision had not been easy. 3 council species had initially voted for quarantine. 2 had supported attempted civilization. Only the ancient Zulfi had supported understanding from the beginning, their racial memory remembering that adaptation was the key to survival. Change or die, Zermoth had told the council in their final session. These are the only options when evolution accelerates. Captain Jiho, now promoted to admiral, commanded the first integrated human-alien defense fleet. The peaceful species had been horrified to discover they needed defense fleets at all, but human analysis had revealed uncomfortable truths about galactic history. Your 10,000 years of peace, Jiho had explained to the council, happened because you never met anything that wanted to fight you. But space is bigger than your little corner of the galaxy. There are other things out there. Human deep space sensors had detected signs of expansion from regions beyond council territory. Automated probes, resource extraction signatures, and energy patterns that suggested industrial civilizations with unknown intentions. You've been living in a bubble, Admiral Wanho had told the emergency council session. A very nice, very safe bubble. But bubbles eventually pop. The revelation had shattered the aliens' worldview more thoroughly than first contact itself. For 10,000 years they had assumed the galaxy was fundamentally peaceful. Discovering that peace was temporary had forced them to confront realities they had never imagined. Minho had become the galaxy's first professor of strategic studies, teaching alien students concepts that had no equivalent in their languages. His classroom on the orbital station was always packed with curious beings, trying to understand human approaches to problem-solving. Think of it like this, Minho explained to his mixed class of humans and aliens. Peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is successful management of conflict. The alien students struggled with concepts like deterrence and strategic balance, but they were learning. More importantly, they were beginning to understand why humans thought differently about everything. Nari had established the first interspecies competitive gaming league. What started as cultural exchange had become something more significant. Training for aliens in rapid decision-making and strategic thinking. You're teaching them to be warriors, Taiho had observed during one of the gaming sessions. No, Nari corrected him. I'm teaching them to think like survivors. The distinction was important. Humans weren't trying to make aliens more violent. They were sharing the mental frameworks that had allowed humanity to thrive in a dangerous universe. Lieutenant Taiho, now Colonel, ran training programs that prepared aliens for scenarios they had never considered. Not combat training, their peaceful natures made that impossible, but situational awareness, crisis management, and emergency response. You don't have to become fighters, Taiho told his alien students. But you need to understand how fighters think. The transformation was visible throughout the galaxy. Alien ships now carried human-designed sensor systems that could detect threats across impossible distances. Alien colonies implemented human-style contingency planning for disasters that might never occur. Alien governments established human-advised, strategic planning committees. Most remarkably, the aliens were beginning to enjoy the intellectual challenges. Veltar had become fascinated by strategic thinking, finding it as mentally stimulating as his original scientific research. There's an elegance to it, Veltar explained to Sumi during one of their collaborative sessions. The way humans balance multiple variables, plan for uncertainty, and adapt to changing conditions. It's like a complex mathematical proof, but applied to real-world problems. Dr. Sumi had become Earth's primary liaison to the Galactic Council, a position that required skills no human had ever needed before, diplomacy with beings who had never experienced conflict. The hardest part, Sumi confided to Jiho during a private moment, is teaching them that preparation isn't paranoia. They still think we're being excessive when we plan for things that probably won't happen. Give them time, Jiho replied. They're learning that probably won't happen isn't the same as definitely won't happen. The new galactic reality became clear during the first major crisis. Long-range sensors detected an approaching probe from beyond Council space, clearly artificial, clearly advanced and clearly not responding to communication attempts. The old council would have sent peaceful ambassadors to make contact. The new council activated integrated defense protocols that combined human strategic thinking with alien technological capabilities. Admiral Wanho commanded the response from the central station, coordinating fleets from 7 different species, using battle plans that couldn't have existed a year before. Remember, Wanho told the mixed fleet commanders, we're not looking for a fight. We're making sure anyone else looking for a fight will reconsider their options. The probe turned away when it detected the organized response. Whatever civilization had sent it apparently decided that this region of space was too well defended to be worth investigating. You see? Minho explained to his students afterward. Strength prevented conflict. Weakness would have invited it. The aliens were beginning to understand that human approaches to peace were more effective than their own had been. But the transformation wasn't one-sided. Humans were learning from alien perspectives too. Nari discovered that alien approaches to cooperation could solve problems that human competition couldn't handle. Tejo found that alien patience could achieve results that human urgency missed. Even Admiral Wanho admitted that alien philosophical perspectives had improved human strategic planning. They think longer term than we do, Wanho explained to Earth's military leadership. We plan for decades, they plan for millennia. That perspective makes our strategies more sustainable. The integration reached its symbolic peak when human children and alien youngsters began playing together on the orbital station. The games they invented combined human competitive elements with alien cooperative principles, creating something entirely new. Look at them, Veltar observed as he and Sumi watched a group of mixed-species children solving puzzles together. They're not becoming more human or more alien. They're becoming something different. Something better? Sumi asked. Something adapted to reality, Veltar replied. That evening, Veltar made his final journal entry about the human experience. 1 year ago, we thought we were discovering a new species to add to our peaceful galaxy. Instead, we discovered that our peace was an illusion we could only maintain because we had never encountered a real challenge. The humans didn't destroy our civilization. They didn't conquer our worlds or enslave our people. Instead, they did something far more profound. They taught us that the universe is not inherently safe and that survival requires constant vigilance and preparation. We thought humanity was made for war. We were wrong. Humanity was made for survival in a universe where war is always possible. There is a difference, and that difference has saved us all. The galaxy is no longer peaceful in the way we understood peace, but it is safer than it has ever been. We have learned that true peace can only exist when those who value peace are prepared to defend it against those who do not. Humanity has given us a gift we didn't know we needed, the ability to survive in the real universe instead of our comfortable bubble. The terrifying truth was not that aliens discovered humanity was made for war. The terrifying truth was that we discovered we were made for a universe that doesn't exist. Humanity helped us adapt to the one that does.